Hello citizens, glad to have you back. In today's Man City news, we covered Manchester City are reportedly considering a double signing from Nottingham Forest during the summer transfer window. Up next, how Enzo Maresca intends to handle Vida Reis and Echeverri following their loan spell. And Man City have reportedly received clarity over the future of Erling Haaland following the presidential election at Real Madrid. And now citizens, let's break it all down. Manchester City's rebuild is starting to look a lot bigger than many supporters expected. For years, Man City's midfield was defined by continuity, whether it was Kevin De Bruyne creating chances, Bernardo Silva controlling tempo, or Ilkay Gundogan delivering in decisive moments. There was always a familiar core. Now, that era has largely passed, and the club appears ready to make a statement. The latest reports suggest Man City are not only pushing for Elliot Anderson, but could also reignite their interest in Morgan Gibbs-White. If that happens, we're talking about two of Nottingham Forest's most influential players potentially arriving at the Etihad in the same summer. What's interesting is how different these profiles are. Anderson brings intensity, physicality, and relentless energy. He's the kind of midfielder who can win second balls, drive through pressure, and give a team balance. Gibbs-White offers something else entirely. He's unpredictable, creative, and thrives between the lines where games are often decided. From a tactical standpoint, that combination makes a lot of sense for Enzo Maresca. Replacing individual players is difficult. Replacing an entire generation is even harder. Instead of searching for the next Bernardo Silva or De Bruyne, Man City may be building a new midfield identity altogether. And that's why this matters so much to Man City fans. This isn't simply about adding depth. It's about defining what Manchester City will look like after Pep Guardiola. Maresca's first season will inevitably bring change, and the recruitment strategy appears focused on younger players capable of becoming long-term leaders. Of course, signing both Forest stars would require a massive financial commitment. But if Man City genuinely believe Anderson and Gibbs-White can become pillars of the next era, the price may be viewed as an investment rather than an expense. The message coming from the club is becoming clearer by the week. This isn't a minor refresh. It's the beginning of a new Manchester City project. My friend Man City fan, would you like to see both Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White at Manchester City? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Not every important signing arrives in the transfer window. Sometimes, the biggest additions are already owned by the club. As Manchester City prepare for life under Enzo Maresca, two names are quietly moving into the spotlight: Vida Reis and Claudio Echeverri. Both players are expected to be part of Man City's preseason plans, but their situations couldn't be more different. Let's start with Reis. While much of the attention has been focused on potential defensive signings, the Brazilian may already be the solution Man City have been developing behind the scenes. His loan spell at Girona wasn't just about gaining minutes, it was about proving he could handle the demands of top-level European football. Week after week, he showed maturity, composure on the ball, and the defensive awareness Man City value so highly. With John Stones gone and uncertainty surrounding parts of the backline, Reis suddenly has a genuine opportunity to force his way into the first-team picture. Echeverri's story feels different. The Argentine arrived in Europe carrying enormous expectations, but his adaptation hasn't been straightforward. A difficult spell in Germany was followed by a reset in Spain, and now he faces perhaps the biggest test of all, convincing the Italian manager that he belongs in the citizens' long-term project. What makes this fascinating for supporters is that pre-season suddenly becomes more than preparation. It's an audition. Maresca is beginning a new era at Manchester City, and he'll be looking for players hungry to prove themselves. Reis offers defensive stability and long-term potential, while Echeverri brings creativity and unpredictability between the lines. In my opinion, these weeks could provide an early glimpse into the club's future. Before spending millions on new arrivals, the first discover that two important pieces of his rebuild are already waiting at the City Football Academy. So citizens, as Enzo Maresca begins a new era at Manchester City, do you think Vida Reis and Claudio Echeverri are ready to step up and become part of the first-team future? Share your opinion in the comments. For Manchester City supporters, there may be no more important transfer update this summer than the one that isn't actually about a transfer happening. Over the last few weeks, speculation surrounding Erling Haaland has been impossible to ignore. Real Madrid links, release clause rumors, political promises during presidential campaigns in Spain. It has all created the impression that Man City's superstar striker could be preparing for a dramatic exit. But when you strip away the headlines, The reality looks very different. The strongest indications coming out of Manchester suggest Haaland remains fully committed to the project, despite the enormous changes taking place around him. Pep Guardiola's departure could easily have triggered uncertainty. After all, Guardiola was one of the key figures behind Man City's dominance and a major factor in attracting elite players to the club. Instead, the Norwegian striker appears ready to embrace the next chapter. And from a football perspective, that is huge. Enzo Maresca's first challenge as Manchester City manager will be building a team capable of competing for every major trophy while navigating a period of transition. Having the world's most feared goalscorer leading the line instantly gives him a foundation most coaches can only dream of. The numbers speak for themselves. Haaland continues to score at a historic rate, but his importance extends beyond goals. His movement stretches defenses, creates space for attacking midfielders, and forces opponents to completely alter their game plans. In my view, this update offers something priceless: stability. While rumors continue to swirl around contracts, transfers, and squad rebuilds, the player at the center of Man City's attack appears set to stay exactly where he is. And as long as Haaland remains in sky blue, Manchester City's ambitions remain as high as ever. My friend Man City fan, how important is it that Erling Haaland stays at Manchester City? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Not every transfer story is about the superstar arrivals. Sometimes, the smartest business happens quietly in the background, and Manchester City's latest deal could be a perfect example of that. Jamie Simpson-Pusey is set to join FC Köln permanently, and while the headline fee may not dominate discussions, there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. Man City are expected to receive an initial €5.5 million, with bonuses potentially pushing the deal to around €7.5 million. More importantly, they've reportedly protected themselves with both a buyback clause and matching rights. That tells you everything about how the club views the young defender. Simpson-Pusey impressed during his loan spell in Germany, earning regular minutes and showing the composure, positioning, and maturity that made him one of Man City's most highly rated academy prospects. Köln clearly saw enough to make the move permanent. But Man City aren't closing the door completely. And that's the key point here. The club's recruitment model has evolved over the years. The citizens are increasingly willing to let young players leave if there is a clear pathway for development elsewhere. The difference is that they now build safety nets into those deals. In my analyze, this move is another reminder that squad building isn't only about spending £80 million on new signings, it's also about creating long-term value from the academy system. With Hugo Viana and incoming manager Enzo Maresca preparing for a new era, every euro matters. Revenue generated from deals like this can help fund major targets in midfield and attack. While Man City still retain the option to bring Simpson-Pusey back if his development explodes in the Bundesliga, it's a low-risk move, a smart financial play, and potentially a deal Man City could benefit from twice. That's exactly the kind of planning that has helped keep Manchester City at the top for so long. Thanks for tuning in to the Citizens News fan channel. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.